I'm Rosanne Marmor. I do a lot of things. One thing I do for you all is I run the Resident Services Peer Learning Group, which we're going to talk about some. Why don't you raise your hand if you go to the meetings? They're once a month. Yeah, cool. So if you're interested, we'll talk more about those meetings later. But I was a Resident Services Coordinator for REACH Community Development, and then I worked for Home Forward for many years with Zara and a couple of other people here. So I kind of started the Resident Services Peer Learning Group, and Resident Services means a lot to me. The group has been around for 25 years, actually. What is the new name for Human Solutions? Thank you. Fran Wyke at Our Just Future started it with me. So I also am the founder and CEO of Pulse Wellness, which is a counseling group practice here in Portland. And now I'm going to pass it on to Zara.
Greetings. Thank you all for being here. I'm Zara Pike. I work with Home Forward now, but I've been in services for about 25 years now, just dating myself. Most of my background before I was hired by Rosanne at Home Forward was working with unhoused folks. And so my specialty is child and family properties. And I love it. I'm excited to hear a little bit more about you all. I'm going to pass the mic over, Rosanne.
Yeah. So first, if you have a seat next to you, please raise your hand so people can find a place to sit. Great. There we go. There's 3 at this table, and we don't bite. We're over it. Hello. So there's, looks like there's 2 more at this table. And then there's someone coming in. Great, there's a seat right there. There's some seats right here.
Oh, good looking out, you guys.
Awesome, okay. So first of all, we want you to what is called parent share. So turn to the person next to you who you do not know. So if you know both people next to you, you're gonna have to get up. You're just gonna have to. And what's your name? Where do you work? Okay. And then what populations do you serve? Okay.
Okay. We got one more spot over here by Ruth. It's where our Zooms are kind of left. I wonder if we can answer some Zoom questions.
Well,
Okay. How long do you want to give them?
How long does it take to say your name?
All right, we're going to wrap it up here. Hello. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. Never taught school anyway. All right, we're going to wrap it up, guys. I know you're greeting. You're getting to know each other. Look at you. I was like, she's got this. I feel the vibe. Okay. All right, we're going to do a raise of hands. I want to see how many people have been doing community services for a year or less. We got some newbies. All right. How many people have been doing community services for over 2 years? Okay. And how many people have been doing community services for over 5 years? Oh, we've got some wisdom in the room. Okay. Do you?
How about 10?
Who's that? Okay. Okay.
Anybody longer than 10? How long?
Any goosebumps?
Who else? Somebody else raised their hand. Yeah.
Yeah. 35 years. Wow.
Wow. You have me beat. You don't know that.
It's a nice assumption, though.
It really is. Okay, so,
We might run out of Post-its with all these folks. There's a glitch in the matrix. So our next little portion of this, we're going to have folks write down 3 to 5 things on the Post-its that are at the center of your table. Remind me, Roseanne, what's our...
So what we want you to write on the Post-it is, what are some of the things that you do for resident services? So, there we go. If I can find the right, there we go. Okay. There we go, now it's working. Yeah. I think it might be, yeah. So actually, yeah, 1 item per Post-it. 1 item per Post-it. That's correct. And it doesn't have to be 3 to 5, it could be more than that. Yep. Okay. It's unfortunate. Hey, Spencer, it's not changing on the video, but it's changing here. Correct. It's not the same. It's not, it doesn't seem to be picking up the same thing. Okay, if you have your Post-its done, take your time, but when you're ready, take your Post-its and put them right there on that board, okay? That wall. So be orderly. Just kidding. Do you, we have some chairs up here that we can give you to have a seat. And there's 1 seat up front. 2. There's 2 seats up front.
This table.
They can sit back there as well. That might be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it, sure. All right, we're making it work. There are 2 seats up front as well. If you want, there's 2 seats right there. I'm gonna go get Post-its. Can you still hear me? Yep, great. We have some technical things we're working out. The activity for those who just walked in is to put some things that you do for resident services on the wall up here. Just stick your Post-its up here on the wall of sort of, it might be your job description. It might not be. Nice. Yay, thank you very much. So remember to personal and professional. All right, thanks for bearing with us. We now have Zoom. We have the exercise, the PowerPoint, and the people. This is good. So I'd like you to call out, raise your hand, but kind of call out some of the ones that you put up there. What was up there? Safety. Eviction prevention. Resourcing, information and referral and resourcing, they're different. Absolutely. What else? Relationship, who said that? Wonderful. Relationships in what way? So community building, mediation. What? Mediation, absolutely. It's worth saying twice. Yeah. Tenant education, absolutely. Trainings and education. There was another hand up in that on that table. What'd you put up there? Yeah. Empowerment. Yes. Validation. Constant. Yes. Helping people help themselves. Sustainability. Anything else? Yeah. Peer support. What about personally? What's it do for you? Why do you do it? Rewarding. What else? It creates change. You actually see change. Did you see that? Yeah, that's true. I love that part. What else? It is challenging. It kicked my ass. No joke. What else? It does. Builds resilience. Absolutely. Other reasons you do it. I was just going to say that one. So she said personal experience. Anyone else? Empathy. That's right. Thank you. That's why I do it. I do it from personal experience. I have been in services since I was a child. And when I found resident services, it was like finding home. It was like it's a perfect job because you do a little bit of everything. And that's what we're going to talk about today, actually.
You wear a lot of hats. You can see them on the wall. It's a lot of different things.
I don't have the agenda. I lost it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you. So, as we talked about, resident services is an incredibly important part of the system inside within which you work. There are a lot of disciplines and a lot of people who do the work inside community development corporations or public housing. And so these are the kinds of organizations that might host or have resident services in them. I want to also remind you that dormitories have resident services, right? Let's see, in lots of other places, nursing homes, et cetera, there's resident services. And when you go to like the American Association of Service Coordinator Conference, you realize how much that is used, how much resident services is used inside lots of different systems to support people who need services and housing, okay? Inside resident services, there's housing stability, and we talked about some of it: information and referral, community building, housing opportunity and advancement services. And there are programs that are tailored to meet the needs of the residents that you're going to serve. And those are set up usually, mostly before the building is built or before it's bought, so that you can figure out the funding and the service coordination needed for the property, okay? Very important piece of resident services is understanding that the residents, the population is determined, and then the programming. Does that make sense? We're going to talk a little bit about the history of resident services. So again, I have been in the field for about 25 years with REACH to start with. REACH was one of the first organizations in Oregon to do resident services, except for Home Forward. So Home Forward was doing resident services prior to that, and a lot of the housing authorities were, because there was a mandate, there was a funded mandate to make sure that services were connected to public housing. And Home Forward had something called CHSP, which it still exists, Congregate Housing Services Program. A lot of resident services actually began at Home Forward through that, and a lot of the ideas of resident services come from REACH and Home Forward in those beginning years. What happened over time is that resident services became mandated through OHCS, that in order to build a building, you had to have services attached to it, but there was no money for that. You had to do it, but there's no money. We call that in resident services an unfunded mandate, okay? You have to do it, but there's no way to pay for it. And some of you might have seen those reports or plans or ideas about what's supposed to happen that are fed through in order to get the funding you need to build the building. So it's an important component of understanding how the money flows so that you can put your name on different places within the system of building a building or serving your residents, okay? So in the beginning, it was a little different in terms of support because we were kind of supporting ourselves and getting together. There were 3 of us, then there were 4 of us, and it slowly got bigger and bigger, which is how we started the peer learning group. I want to ask, do you have, Zara, anything to add to the history before I move on? Okay, so I think a little bit of placing history is awesome. I also think that resident services has dramatically shifted, and it is especially with COVID. In fact, one of the things that I found interesting about COVID is that it's kind of the way it used to be, because I couldn't be on site when I was starting out because I had, 300 units. So I was, as I said earlier, I was doing scattered site resident services, which means at REACH they have 77 houses, or they did at the time, where people lived in the Buckman neighborhood, and my job was to do resident services for all the houses, as well as 3 buildings in that neighborhood. So this is what we believe resident services is. Every definition is going to be limiting, but I'm going to read it out just to make sure that the Zoom folks, because I have not forgotten about you, Zoom, can see this. So a service coordinator provides residents of affordable housing benefits such as housing stability, community building, resources, and other opportunities for advancement. We are a bridge to navigating needs in a community, and our work should be fully guided by the populations we serve.
With that said, I'm going to have each table have a brief conversation about how we make sure our residents are guiding the work. So if you would, I'm going to give you 5 minutes, but when I'm raising hands, I'm hoping that we can close conversations. But I'm going to go ahead and have you guys break off into groups. If you want to maybe gather as a group in the back of the room, and if our Zoom folks can have a conversation with each other, I'd just love for you guys to talk a little bit more about how you center resident ideas and focus the work on resident needs and ideas. All right.
Hi, this is Shauna on Zoom. Can everybody hear me? Great. So I thought I had an idea in my head, so I thought I'd maybe start the conversation. I'm a community program manager with Bridge Meadows. So I support 3 affordable housing locations in the community support specialists, which are equivalent to a resident services coordinator, very similar. But I was thinking about one thing that we do annually to kind of get feedback from the residents and community members. And those are satisfaction surveys. And we started doing focus groups where we get together with as many people who want to participate and, have a voice in that particular way. And we just ask really kind of guided questions, and then also have an open forum for giving feedback on things that they may want, that they have been missing and hoping, to engage in. And then we focus on different populations because we serve and support kids who have been impacted by the foster care system and their families, and then also elders who are 55 plus. And so we have that intergenerational approach, and we want to make sure that we're offering intergenerational connection programming, but also things that are tailored and specific to the needs of each group. So just want to put that out there to get it going.
Hey, thank you for sharing. My name is Leora Beverly, and I'm a program manager for permanent supportive housing with the Urban League of Portland. And I oversee a little over 150 scattered sites, and then about 100 multifamily. Well, so 2 multifamily sites, but about 100 people, 100 participants in the multifamily. And our team is pretty big. We're the largest team in the Urban League. There's 24 people that I manage, and they do all the beautiful things. Our permanent supportive housing program is a culturally specific program. We are very invested in community building. And I'm sorry, I'm very sick. That's the only reason why I'm virtual. I was supposed to be there today, but I have to present tomorrow. I'm like, oh, great. Anyway, so we do permanent supportive housing. We do wraparound services, very, very similar to resident services. So we have a team of peer support. And those people are, I really feel like the heart and soul of permanent supportive housing, because they find the need working with people that have been chronically homeless and have mental health issues. They have to find the needs. They don't just automatically, come with a list of things that they need and then meet that need. And sometimes our permanent supportive housing team is we wear capes, I think, because we do so many things to outreach in the community to make sure, as far as like food pantry restoration, reunification for families, just all the stuff, right? We go to court cases and we write referrals into detox. It's a big deal. And I think, anyway, I think that's where we were. I am on Dayquil. Hopefully, hopefully it'll help, because I'm a hot mess right now. So I apologize if I'm just talking randomly. I don't know at this point.
I stepped away momentarily. What's our assignment? Are we just introducing ourselves?
We're talking about how we figure out what programming or services we want to offer residents in our programs and at our sites.
Oh, okay.
So how we're getting that feedback and such.
So I'm with my name's Jim. I'm with a new provider in Oregon. And so we don't have anything open yet. So I'm here learning, but we've partnered with the developer downtown who's developing about 100 supported housing units in the Northwest blocks. And so, yeah, I'm here to learn about the resident services. Frankly, my background is in the behavioral health residential side. And so the housing side is new to me. So thank you for letting me listen in.
You. My name is Amal Ahmed. I'm with our Just Future. I've been a resident services for almost 15 years, but right now I have a different role, but I still do resident services. I have 5 properties of 235 units total and a staff of 3 now. But the programs that we offer are not really based on what our like, because we are tight on budget, we don't have the capacity to like, you know, survey our tenants and then deliver what they're looking for. But most of our programs are focused on eviction prevention, you know, and we provide basic, you know, things that are like kind of yearly, annually, repeatedly happening all the time, every year. But also we're there as a support system and then also help tenants to throughout anything that they may face, right? And the annually, you know, year to year or repeatedly stuff that we do are you know, assisting with energy assistant programming. Through our agency, we provide every year outreach. We have rental assistant, but it's not, you know, it's not major, but it's here and there scattered, like for those who need it, and it's very minimal. And some sites we have one extra program, whereas our Learnlinks, our after school programming, kind of also provides after school where applicable for properties where we have younger you know, tenants, and also community room. I mean, that's essential. You need to have a community room and space in order to provide services. And we just do quarterly gatherings and just potlucks and things like that to bring the tenants together. And so just remind them that we're still here, even though we might not.
All right, 2 more minutes, folks.
Yeah.
We're closing up conversations. You got 2 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Zara, I think that was Zara. Yeah. So yeah, it's not, but at the same time, we're there, we're listening and observing so that we can keep an eye out for whatever comes up. I think our 2 minutes is up also.
I think there's probably 1 last minute if anyone else wanted to share. Maybe, we'll see.
All right, folks, we're gonna get back together as a group. Just finishing conversations. So I have your attention. Thank you, folks. Thank you, thank you. All right, we're gonna do a little round robin. I'm hoping maybe an extrovert at each of our tables can report out. Do you guys want to designate your extrovert, your speaker? I was feeling the vibe there too. I love it. A volunteer. All right. So how do you center residents in your work?
Okay, wait, can you ask the question again?
Oh my God. All right. How do we center the work around our residents?
So we kind of troubleshooted some things. So we're a little off topic, but what I am gathering is that definitely, you know, making sure that our community partner relationships are strong so that we can be able to have services to be able to provide to the people when they come in and they need them. And learning about what their needs are basically through open communication, intakes, that kind of stuff, allowing people the space and the time that they need to be able to get their story across and, you know, let us know where they're at, and then taking that and being able to identify what, for me, it's a lot of barriers or what resources they need or whatnot, and then being able to take that further with our community partners and then bring it all together. Does that work?
That works great. I love it. Thank you so much. All right. How do we center? Do you guys have a speaker at your table? Oh, you. Okay, we got one of these two.
My excuse is that I got here late. We talked about some examples of projects in our group that have conducted surveys with residents in person and like the methods used to do that, and resident councils, like resident advisory leadership groups. And we're just in the process of learning from each other about what those look like in practice.
I love it. Thank you so much. All right. I'm hoping to hear from this group as well. Do you guys have a speaker? Designated Chatty Cathy? I can designate for this conversation here. That'll do. It'll do.
So one of the things we talked about was similar to theirs, is like you have to have those strong partnerships, because when you have a lot of residents, you can't do everything and it just wouldn't be feasible. But when you know which organizations provide that support, you do the warm handoff, you connect them directly. Like, try not to send them on another automated phone call, press this button, because a lot of our residents can't. I don't even want to do that. I don't even want to think about another automated phone call. So person to person, warm handoffs, warm connecting to those resources that do provide that service or that are supposed to be providing that service, and then following up.
I love it. Thank you so much. Good work. All right. How about this group? You have a designated. Oh. You look so excited about
I
it.
am so excited. We discussed basically the same thing as this table over here about the strong community partners, and we also talked about the importance of active listening to just maybe the side conversations that are going on between residents, and then being able to just check in and say, hey, I heard you talking about your toothache, or would you like some resources for dental care? And then we also discussed the importance of recognizing that there might be a sense of pride involved with people trying to ask for things. And so being available and being more able to approach people rather than having them come to you sometimes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Good job. Good job. You guys proud of her? I hear that. All right. We got a speaker. All right. How do we center our residents in our work?
One of the biggest things that I just wanted to talk about is one of the programs that, what was the organization called? Urban League. One of the things that they're doing is kind of having their own economic like reward system for like house visits. What else are the other? Initiative to clean, just life skill trainings, just be engaged and get the progress, right? So have like your own economic like reward system, and where they get like hattie bucks, where they can come in and purchase like their own toiletries and stuff like that. So.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. We got a couple more tables here. Don't think you're getting out of this. All right. Do you guys have a table leader? Yeah. Table speaker?
a lot of our themes were similar to some of the ones we've already heard. So we talked about resident advisory boards and councils and a HUD template, I think, that Hacienda is potentially going to be using. That could be really useful. And then we also talked about some of the work that's been going on at Home Forward and around using, I guess, maybe resident ambassadors is maybe the term we'd use, like to extend, or community builders, to extend the reach of resident services staff that are spread too thin. And also to just create a lot of empowerment inside those communities and to, yeah, for those efforts.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. What about you folks? Do you want to add a little? Okay. How about our group back here? I saw you guys chatting up a storm. Do you guys have anything you want to share around centering residents in the work?
Yeah, I'll do it. So we talked about giving, well, we do surveys, and we also go and knock on their doors and try to build that trust, to voice their concerns and their opinions. And yeah, basically what everybody else has said.
I love it. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything they want to add? Okay. All right. I saw some really disappointment faces. Do we have a speaker for the table?
It turns out the way to a resident's heart is through their stomach. So a lot of food and coffee that we talked about it gets people out of the doors and ready to engage. We talked about surveys being a really good part, and I really appreciate when people were talking about, I like the idea of the economic reward system. I've never heard that before, and I love when people are talking about strong partnerships, because that seems to be sometimes an issue, is holding accountability with those partnerships. So creating those partnerships, the good ones are great. Let's see what else we talked about. Just a lot of communication with a lot of consistency, making sure that we are there when we say that we're going to be there.
Love that. Oh, we got one more. Thank you so much.
Throw it out there, put it in your toolbox. We had a lot of success getting. Oh, sorry about that. The economic store thing just made me remember that we had a lot of success a few years back when we would do household goods bingo with our elders. They love some bingo, and it was all the things they couldn't get on their SNAP benefits, like laundry soap, dish soap, the things they need, and especially dish sponges, because some of them would get sour or old, and we're like, Auntie, here's extra sponges. I want you to throw that one away. That one can throw away. And then the extra things they couldn't get on their SNAP benefits was what we would bingo raffle or bingo for them.
I love it. Thank you. All right, here you go.
So I want to place something. We talked about how your building is designed, and then we talked about what centers the work. Okay, so your building is designed by a bunch of people who sit in a room and say, we're going to serve this population. And then somebody says, how are you going to do it? And then you go in and design your programs based on all of that. And so when you think about how you center your work around residents, remember, your building could have been built 40 years ago, 30 years ago, or before COVID. And so when that plan was created, it was created based on the time. And so it gets to change. It gets to change and shift based on your populations and your building and the culture of your building. So every building has a culture. You know this because how many have more than one property? How many people have more than 100 units they serve? How many people have more than 200 units that you serve? Okay. How many people serve more than one property in different counties? Okay. How about in different cities? Okay. So you're starting to get a picture of how pulled you are, and you're not alone. And that's really an important part, is to recognize that you're in a room full of people who understand that pull, that stretch. And so one of the things that I heard coming out of this room is how valuable partnerships are. We're going to spend a lot of time on that this later in the day because of how important it is, because that's how you leverage what we just saw when everybody raised their hand. Okay?
Thanks, Rosanne. All right, so this is kind of the foundational skills of the work. Did you just click to the next slide?
I'm your assistant.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about core focus. We missed, actually, I do want to get into. I'm sorry. Yeah. So definitely, we've got a. Yes, you will. There's actually already a copy of the PowerPoints for all 3 of our sessions today on the website, but we also have an email. If you have any trouble accessing that, you can reach out to Kevin, and it's at the very last slide, so we'll make sure you get that information. So some important skills for a coordinator. I think at the top of this list, we should have critical race theory. A lot of our folks are impacted by post-Jim Crow, a lot of the prison industrial complex. So also cultural competence. We're serving folks that speak all different types of languages, have a whole world of life experiences that we might not have had. Knowledge of community resources, of course, I could hear a lot of resource conversations here. You see that that's really the core of our work, and being able to kind of rub elbows and go out there and get to know folks. We call it resource shopping. Got a couple pros in the room on my team. And that being able to navigate systems is also a huge piece of the work. Systems are not built to be easily navigated. So it's really important that as a coordinator, you have an understanding and ability and the patience to assist your folks in navigating complex systems. All right, so core focus in services. This is kind of the tip of the iceberg. As you all know, there's a ton of things that lie under these categories. They are all over the wall over here. We wanted to separate them into each of the categories, but the wall's not holding on to those Post-its. But as you know, housing stability, we are a lease interpreter, really. And offering people different financial assistance and help in navigating lease enforcement. Community safety is a real huge piece of our work. We've seen a lot of that in the metro area. In the past couple of years, things have kind of come to a head in that category, with folks' mental health services being pretty dire, and folks going through really difficult times in their life, especially in a post-pandemic world. So health kind of falls under that community safety umbrella, and mental health, of course. And then community building and asset building. Big piece of the work. This is your resources. This is the bread and butter of what you do on a day-to-day basis. So those are our larger overarching concepts, and your wall is covered with little bits and pieces, the many hats that you all wear in this work. Do you have anything you want to add? No. Okay. Did I just turn that off? Woosa. All right. So depending on time, we might have a little side convo about this. Where are we at? Oh, good. Okay, we were hoping to talk a little bit more about this because of the wisdom in the room and the people sitting next to you. So speaking a little bit more about the opportunities that we create and the resources that we bring in, we're going to have everybody at your tables. We're going to talk a little bit more about what those look like. What kind of activities are you hosting as a coordinator or service provider? And also, what kind of activities and things are you bringing in to enrich your community? Home Forward's had a big focus on digital equity and economic opportunities. And health and wellness. But I encourage you to talk a little bit more about your agency's focus and how you're bringing that to your residents.
And the reason this is important is because of what Zara said earlier. The wealth of information is actually in the room. So it's wonderful that we can impart some stuff to you, but what we really want is for you to be drawn out to share with one another so that you copy what other people are doing, so that you know what works and you also know what doesn't work, okay? So I hope this activity and kind of talking to each other is useful for you as we move forward.
All right, go ahead and commence. I'll give you a little shout out when we got about 2 minutes left.
I think my guess is us on Zoom are also having this conversation like before. This is Shauna Hartung again, Community Program Manager with Bridge Meadows. I actually have a question. I'm wondering if anybody in this Zoom call are running after school. I think I heard that one group is running after school programming and potentially summer programming. And that's, you know, we're doing some of that, but I'm right now starting to shape a scholarship program for our families and figure out what that would look like to offer some type of summer programming that's consistent and would provide not only childcare, but, you know, connection activities and relationship building and all those different things that kids need in the summer and just play. And then also looking at a year-round kind of scholarship program. Curious if anybody's doing anything like that.
So does that mean that there's a cost of in the program, or is it for a scholarship program outside of the program?
It would be, I mean, it's pretty open, but ideally little to no cost for families. You know, an alternative to some of the other programs that are out there, but something on site would be amazing. We have 3 locations. We have one in Redmond, one in North Portland, and one in Beaverton. And we have enough space, like we have the way our buildings are designed is around this shared meadow, and that's where the kids often play in the summer as well. And then we have a large community room. And so there's a wonderful opportunity to have some daily programming that's consistent and fits kind of that childcare slash summer engagement.
Would you outsource that, or would that
we could
be
outsource it? So yeah, community partnership. So it could be a group coming in. We don't really have enough staff at the moment to run that. So that would probably be the ideal way to go. Another idea would be, since we're intergenerational, engaging, you know, some of the folks that live there in that. They probably wouldn't fully run it, but at least support it and help out.
Is the vision to have it like or to have it all day?
Not necessarily all day. Yeah, I think an all day thing would be probably too ambitious at this point, but starting maybe with a half day, you know, a few hours kind of thing. Is there anyone else in the group that's doing summer after school program, either through a community partnership or on site through, you know, internal resources?
This is Amal with Our Just Future. We do summer lunch programming, which we tie to activities as well at some of our properties, and those are run by tenant interns, we sign we partner with the local school district that is the property at. So
2 minutes.
yeah.
2 minutes left.
So through Reynolds, Gresham, and Centennial School District. And we also partnered with Portland Parks and Rec, who came to one of our properties 3 times a week during the summer for the past 5 years. They took a pause for COVID, but were with us for over 5 years, if you don't count COVID.
Oh, wow. What did Portland Parks and Rec, what do they do at your properties?
They provide activities, they bring everything with them and lunches for those 3 days for children 18 and younger. And it's on site. Sometimes they bring portable rock climbing unit, sometimes water play. It's just very engaging activities and lunch. And sometimes they bring the library over, like books to you, and give out books or read. Activities just vary based on the kids' needs.
Oh, that's wonderful. Would you be willing to share contact information for that in the chat?
I'm gonna look for it, but if I can't right now, I will make sure to send it to Rosanne.
Okay,
so
perfect.
She can share it to the bigger group.
Thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
a great resource.
Thank you. And like you don't even have to have a community room for that. They bring their own tent, their own setup, and just are very utilizing the space. They just need a space. Like if you have like a grassy area, is the perfect place because
that's fantastic.
It's easier to set up their tents. Or something
All right,
like that,
folks.
It's
We're
like
closing down
the ones at
conversations.
parks.
We're designating
Oh,
group
right.
leaders,
Yep.
speakers. I'm going to give you just a couple more seconds to end that thought. I'm so sorry to abruptly jar you from your conversations. All right, everybody. Back to the convo. We're all going to contribute, though. Does everybody have a group leader designated? All right. I'm excited because we have so many folks from different agencies. Is that an unconsensual nomination? All right, everybody. You just focus up here. We'll start with you guys. All right.
I'm doing that, yeah, Zoom people. Okay, so we talked about dental services being brought in. Now I'm drawing a blank. Dental services, I think some medical services. So we have, a partnership with Samaritan Health, and they're bringing in an ARMP into our building once a month. We are working on bringing in like community support meetings for alcoholics and Narcotics Anonymous and maybe Wellbriety and things like that, and then also food is a big one. We get food, they bring in food. The Housing Authority has their food pantries there. What else did we say, guys? Employment services, yep. What else? An art bus. We got an art bus in Lincoln County. I think that's it for right now.
Oh, I'm envious of this art bus. That sounds amazing. Yeah, take a little note there. That's Lincoln County, though. That's the thing. Everybody's got their niche. All right. Can I hear from someone from this table? Do we have a Desi? All right.
A couple people talked about using, connecting with churches in the area to provide community rooms for weddings and funerals and birthday parties and stuff when there's not an available space at the properties. And then someone else talked about using their community rooms for holiday parties and having like a space where kids can be kids and residents can rent rooms for really cheap and have all their community events. And then I talked about how I get to do bike camp with Community Cycling Center twice a year with our kids, and then also like a cooking program for kids as well.
Cooking with kids, fun. All right. I'd love to hear from you folks. Do you have a designated speaker? Philip? Oh. Tag.
Yeah, right. I guess I took when I was trying to lead, I took on a different style of facilitation, and it seems like the other tables have done a lot more better work. But we were just talking about different things, and we got to talking about, I believe it was called a P card, that I'm unfamiliar with at all, about loading money on a card for people to use, and then it gets reloaded every 6 months to use towards buying school supply items and stuff, and people have to sign up for it, which I thought was a very good idea. We were talking about different food and garden access. We do have a couple of organizations that set up community gardens. Some have been successful, some have been not, but it seems like if we give the right supports that the community does take. Anyway, in our world at NeighborWorks Umpqua, we do have community gardens that are run by the community that are working. That's definitely helpful. Let's see, what else did we talk about? We talked about the digital equity a little bit and how we have different softwares available through our rental programs that we can help people get signed up for them so they can do more interactive making payments, and we can send out messaging and flyers that we have for different trainings and events. And I think that's all we pretty much got. I talked about specifically health resources, and I asked the question, how many people are OHP eligibility assisters in here? We've got 1, 2. How many people are community health workers? How many people are community health workers? Man, it just feels like through our CCOs that we could be billing for a lot of these services, just so you know, just as a thought.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes I wish that I was in resident services now that I'm a therapist, because I've cracked the code. And in the world of Oregon Health Plan, there's something called a HCPC code, HCPC S, right? HCPCS. That code actually counts for almost all the things you do in 15-minute increments, which are called units. You can bill OHP if you are a qualified mental health professional, A or R. If you get that certification, then your organization can bill OHP for some of the work you're doing. And you need to talk to the Oregon Health Authority in order to learn the rules and understand how HCPCS work. And I will bring it up in our resident services monthly meeting and see if I can get somebody from OHA to come talk to you all specifically about that, because I realized that a couple days ago.
OHA is also training community health workers that can help with enrollment in services, which is a wonderful thing to know. I've been trying to get my agency to do that, especially with our health and wellness focused service coordinators. All right, I'd love to hear a little bit more from this table. Chris? Okay.
Ay, qué bárbaros. I'm sorry, I didn't let them talk. Okay, I think we all have some resources on each one of the buildings we work on. Food pantries are so important, but I keep the word all the time, and we were talking about difference about multicultural, and especially the newcomers that they're just arriving, all these people to come from Hispanic places, from so many places, but after the word Ukrainians coming without the language of English, not either Spanish, then just trying to provide information in their language and found the resources. But actually, when you found the resource, like perhaps I have a Casa Latinos Unidos to help me when the people couldn't pay their rent. But if somebody else understands that they couldn't pay the rent and they get help, guess what happened next month? I have 50 people that didn't have the chance to pay their rent. Then just trying to teach them in the way they could just not be in that failing because it's gonna cost $25 to be late. But that's how we try to improve on founding things like mental health, food pantries, having people servants in so many areas, or just a ride to school. We need to teach them how to use the system, because they don't either know the system. And actually, I have the opportunity to serve in a place where it doesn't really bother the people to live there. Farmers are the ones to make their own law. Then just teach them things of fair housing and trying to make safe the living space for these newcomers. Yeah, but we have, well, I keep that word and I didn't let them talk too much.
You did great. They're proud of you. Thank you. I love it. Thank you so much. Okay, let's do 2 more tables. Do you?
We talked about this lovely group over here has a wonderful cooking program. So they get together and they have an actual chef that will come and instruct the community. And then there's no instruction. Just kidding.
Making meals.
They make meals together. And then they eat together. They make it for the resident. And we didn't actually get a chance to discuss this, but our organization, we have a wonderful partnership with Food for Lane County. And so once a week at the majority of our properties, we have a program called Extra Helping. So there's a lot of extra like produce and bread and sweets and things brought to the property, and people can just come in and take a little bit of extra food. That's a pretty big need right now. So we also have a program, like a financial literacy program. So we have someone who works in our organization who will come to the properties and have a one-on-one or a class with people on financial literacy. Is there anything else? Good.
I love it. Thank you, guys. That reminds me, we saw a panel from the gentleman that wrote Black Power Cookbook, and one of them was just full of a bunch of nuggets of wisdom, and he said, break bread, build bridges, and it totally rocked my world.
Yeah.
And he said, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, amazing cookbook if you have a chance. That's all you. Thank you.
So, and that cookbook is Ghetto Gastro. It's worth enjoying, actually. What we want to do is leave it open for questions. Before I forget, we want to make a plug for the Resident Services Peer Learning Group, and you email Kevin and he'll put you on the list. One of the things that we will do, because we heard that there's some PowerPoint glitch, is in the Resident Services Peer Learning Group, we have our own shared drive, and we all dump our stuff in there so that we can just make sure and share everything we need. So we'll put this PowerPoint and materials inside that drive, so when you sign up with him, you'll be able to get to it quicker. Apparently, in a couple of weeks, you'll have access to it if you don't want to sign up for the group. We'd like to open it up for questions. Yes. Q, Qualified Mental Health Professional, QMHP. There's A and there's R. Correct.
So if you're a QMHA, it means you're a qualified mental health associate, and there's a QMHP above you that's supervising or monitoring or just sort of aware of your hours and the time that you're doing, so that those are validated qualifying units. So they're basically the person in charge. If you don't have a QMHP overseeing a QMHA, the QMHA's work won't be counted. It can't be billed for.
Thank you very much. I think it's about hours, actually, and yeah. Any other questions about today or in general? Yeah. Oh, great. Any other questions? Anything you want clarified? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So, who here works at a building that has 24-hour security? You're the only one? Okay, you guys, please come to the front. Thank you. Who here works in a building where you have security? Any security? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, all over Home Forward. I don't know why no one's raising their hand, because it's a good half dozen sites, 24 hours, and then 8 hours at a lot of our sites. Do you have any other questions about security?
You guys, we only have
Okay.
5 more minutes. Let's be here together. Thank you.
Just curious what the general population experiences. We get a lot of questions from residents about security. We deal with gun violence in our neighborhood, just all types of violence. And residents are saying, why don't we have a doorman? Why don't we have a security guard? Why don't we have this? Why don't we have that? And I'm just curious what other organizations' experiences are.
I'll be honest with you, we don't financially have the means to cover security, but we don't have a choice to not cover security at our buildings, and it's unfortunate. And I think it is a repercussion of our mental health care system and a lot of other systematic issues. Yeah. Well, doing a trauma-informed training with security folks is really helpful, especially since when they encounter our folks, that not all of the companies that we've worked with are trauma-informed or good at de-escalation. So being able to kind of guide that work is important. No need for weapons, and some security agencies only have folks that are carrying weapons. So it's important, I think, for services to be a part of that conversation. We've inserted ourselves at this point, but it took a lot of finagling. You got a question for me?
They offer specific training. And so the first session was a community forum with residents, being like, okay, what are the issues? Gun violence, domestic violence, and I guess like violence within the halls between residents. And then they'll develop programming based on that and be like, okay, let's teach about reporting, which number to call for like what emergency, but also they have access to city funding. So like my main goal is lighting within our areas. And so the more reports, the more funding that district gets. So that's the route I'm personally taking right now for my community.
See the name of the agency?
Community Safe Blocks.
I love that. What neighborhood or what area are you in?
I'm in Coley, and they do have funding for translation services too, and they will do infinity groups.
Nice. I know Office of Neighborhood Involvement also does some work around safety evaluations of properties. I know Home Forward has made some decisions around their evaluations. Office of Neighborhood Involvement and Community Safe Blocks. Through the Community Safety Division, through the City of Portland.
We also have, in October at the Resident Services meeting, I have Sarah Berkemeyer coming to talk about community safety and working better with the city, because she works within the, what is not called the Office of Neighborhood Involvement anymore. Oh,
It is.
yeah, yeah, it's called, thank you. Thank you. It's called the Community Safety Division, and Sarah's going to be talking more in depth about that next month.
You can't change a name 3 times. That's out of control. All right, we have time for one more question. The gal in the red sweater, I'm so sorry, you're wearing a mask and I missed your question. Darlene, I missed your question earlier. We got a little sidetracked with the safety conversation. PowerPoints, yes. And if you have any difficulty accessing the PowerPoint, that gentleman, Kevin Cronin, the email right there, just shoot him an email and he'll make sure you have links. He sent me links. He can send you links too, or at least give you a link to links.
Is there a way after all these workshops that all of us, because we have lots, like you say, wisdom here, that we could send, this is what we do and how we lay out at the very end, where we could email that, and then all of us, after it's all collected, can resource it? I mean, because we're missing a lot, just being at this little table right here, there's so much out there that we're missing with each other, and if we could dump it into an email.
We have a building resource list with Housing Oregon, with the resident services group, but we can definitely add some nuggets of wisdom that we've gleaned from this session.
We can't, because we're training. So we're doing the facilitation and we're attending to you. And in order to do that, it's not, I can't scribe. Neither one of us can kind of like scribe. All the information that we're sort of offering up is going to be on the Google Drive in different forms. There's handouts, there's worksheets, there's reports. It's kind of exhaustive. I've dumped 30 years of information into that Google Drive from Reach, from Home Forward. So I promise you it is quite robust. If there's something you need, you'll get it at the meeting, the working group meeting. I called it that because that's what it used to be called, the peer learning group. And you can email Kevin and he'll make sure you have access, and we'll give you our email so that you can email directly in case there's something you need, okay? We are gonna end this session and we'll be back in 10 minutes. There are other sessions, so what we wanna know is raise your hand if you're going to another session. Thank you very much. That's helpful. Thank you. All right, we'll see you in 10 minutes.